Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. Punjab remains the focus again, even as far as the last CM is concerned. There has been reports of corruption in funds, and later on, as far as the present Chief Minister Punjab is concerned, of course, allocation of funds, dispersal of them have also been questioned, particularly in the two districts of Punjab. We'll be talking a little bit about that, what the details are as pursuant to these allegations that have come forth as far as corruption is concerned. Also, we've seen two conventions take place in Sialkot as far as the PMLN is concerned, also in Rawalpindi, the workers becoming more active. There seems to be a lot of movement there. We'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking a little bit later on overall as far as Punjab's political scenario is concerned, as far as meetings are concerned, as far as what kind of politics is underfoot there particularly, which seems to be the center at this time. All of that today on Perspective. I have with me Ali Zaman Danish, who's correspondent PTV Lahore. We have with us Sultan Shahryar, who is with the PMLN, Mehtab Haider, who's a senior journalist, and Dr. Niaz Murtaza, who is a political analyst. Before we go on, we'll be looking at a report on the funds in Punjab and what the allegations actually entail as far as the previous CM is concerned and what's happening at this time, according to these reports.
Down the track, gets it past.
To light, major irregularities have been detected in various projects of Punjab's 700 billion rupees annual development program. According to documents, most of the funds have been allocated to Gujarat, Hafsabad and Mandi Bhavdeen. Gujarat is getting 15% of the annual development program, that's 100 billion rupees development schemes for a population of 5 million people. Last year, Gujarat got 4 billion rupees. It is revealed funds of South Punjab districts Bhakkar, Bhavalnagar, Khushab and Dera Ghazi Khan have been decreased, and Lahore's development funds have been decreased by 20 billion rupees. Funds worth 10 billion rupees were allocated for Gujarat this year, but after Pervez Elahi became Chief Minister Punjab in July, funds for Gujarat increased to 100 billion, making it the district with the most funds. Gujarat is Chief Minister Pervez Elahi's home district. Irregularities worth 2 billion rupees have also been detected at Punjab's municipal corporation and district council. It is believed various political allies of the Punjab government are the main beneficiaries. What's more, it's being reported that 10% commission is being collected from project contractors. Such lavish spending and irregularities of public money on a few constituencies without transparency raises questions and is also in violation of court orders. Such actions are being taken when flood-affected areas need the resources the most.
Right. We have with us Ali Zaman Danish, who is, has the details as far as this report is concerned. Ji, Ali, can you hear me? Ali?
Yes, I can hear you.
Ji, overall, what are the details as far as this report is concerned? Of course, there's some talk about the former under the former CM as far as the dispersal of funds is concerned, and now more recently the allocation of funds under the present Chief Minister Punjab.
Yes, the funds have significantly increased, and it is believed that Gujarat alone is getting 15% of the development annual development funds program. Punjab has around 700 billion rupees development fund program, and that's a lot of money. Punjab usually gets the lion's share, the largest development funding program from the annual development program. But most of these funds, excessive amounts are being spent on Gujarat and Mandi Bhavdeen, and there is information coming around. There's also an article out by a journalist who claims in his article that two families are the main beneficiaries of these funds, and most of these funds, as I mentioned, are going to Gujarat and Mandi Bhavdeen, both of them small districts, and other areas like such as DG Khan, Bhakkar, Bhavalnagar, Khushab and Lahore, which do need the funds, especially DG Khan and Bhakkar, because they were affected by the recent devastating floods. Their development funds have been decreased. Lahore's development fund has been significantly decreased as well by 20 billion rupees. And the major, once again, that article mentions that the major beneficiaries are those people who are related or are connected to the Chief Minister Punjab, and these funds, before July 2022, about 10 billion rupees, around that much was allocated for Gujarat and Mandi Bhaudin and other areas around these
Is
much
this
funds. But
irregular? I mean, this kind of change usually by the Chief Minister, is it done regularly? What is the modus operandi, so to speak?
yes, I mean, for Gujarat, it's gone from 10 billion to 100 billion rupees, and for Mandi Bhaudin as well. So a lot of funds have, this is an excessive amount from 10 billion to 100 billion. This is a bit too much, and this is has surprised everyone. Of course, we know that a new Chief Minister Punjab came into power by the end of July 2022. Before that, the funds allocated for Gujarat and other areas were around 10 billion each, but now, after this, they have significantly increased. And, there have been talks for many years, for decades, that how development funds are given or for gratification or misappropriated, or there are different beneficiaries. There have always been those type of stories. But this information which is coming out with this journalist claims, this is excessive, and this has not been heard before, that development funds for a small district is going from 10 to 100 billion. Clearly, there needs to be transparency about how these funds are being allocated, how they're being used. That has raised concern. Of course, a lot of people have raised concerns, and it is believed that in the coming days, this information will further spread, and more people, once they pick it up, they will raise questions about it in the Punjab Assembly and in the federal government as well, that such excessive amounts is being spent only on a few districts in Punjab, while many districts in southern Punjab who do need the funds are being ignored, or their funds are being slashed. So this is concerning, and of course there are also reports that in district councils and municipal councils, there have been irregularities detected of about at least 20 billion rupees. It is believed that that money is going to certain beneficiaries as well, who may be allies of the Punjab government. So, of course, this raises a lot of questions about transparency, about how these funds are being spent, accountability as well. And, this is the public's money, so these questions have to be answered, yes.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Ali. We'll come back to you. We have with us Sultan Shahryar from the PML-NG. Sultan Saab, can you hear me?
I can, please.
Sultan Saab, I don't know if you've been hearing if you heard what Ali was talking about in terms of dispersal of funds in Punjab is concerned, but what's your take on this? Of course, these are new facts that have come to light and, of course, will be investigated. But overall, what is your take on what's happening in terms of use of these funds? How are they being used, the amounts of them, all of that?
I was listening to the conversation, and I would say that you have called the right person. It's not only about Bahawalpur or Gujarat. I mean, I personally belong to District Chakwal, and District Chakwal was among those 4 districts where PMLQ has a stronghold. And when I use the word stronghold, these districts, they have these dynamics that where if PMLQ and PTI, they contest individually, they are not in a winning position. But if they do the seat adjustments and they do, if they go for elections jointly, then they are in a competitive position. So recently, not only allocation of funds in Chakwal, but there was a tehsil by the name of Talagang. It was converted to district, so now it's currently the 36th or 37th district of Punjab. And the irony is that the revenue that it generates, it doesn't even generate 10% of the revenue that is required for our district, So that was one illegal aspect, I would say. And the stories or the news about these funds, they have been coming up repeatedly, and there is resentment within PTI as well. Especially the stakeholders and the parliamentarians from these constituencies, they have started to raise voices that despite
Sultan
being
Sahib, in terms of, you've mentioned that there's resentment within the PTI also. There are reports, that have come out. How authentic they are. I will let you give your opinion on this. But there are reports within that there are rifts within the PTI also within Punjab. Is this one of the causes? Well, what is the, of course, like you are saying, funds are a huge issue for each constituency, and of course those who go back to the people for their votes and are expecting to in a year or so.
yes, this is one of the causes, and the PTA reps, what their take is that they believe that they are the majority stakeholder in this coalition government, and whether you talk about Lahore, the chief minister office, the things are being handled over there, or if you talk about the certain constituencies, or even the constituencies where PTI has its own stronghold, still PMLQ or the chief minister office, they have started to started making their roots in those constituencies by I have some other examples where the elected reps, they belong to PTI, but PMLQ, the chief minister, so he has recently handpicked few persons from certain districts. Someone was made advisor to chief minister, and funds are being given to those persons. So there is a resentment regarding this issue.
Overall, in terms of the changes within the PTI, within the Punjab government, there's a lot being alluded there also. What are the reports as far as, of course, we all know that Mian Nawaz Sharif Sahab had a meeting with Chaudhry Shujat's son. Overall, as far as the PMLQ is concerned, what is the situation there with their alliance with the PTI?
Well, the ice has started to melt, I would say, and even Monas Ilai, Chief Minister's son, he held a presser at the Chief Minister's office or at Chief Minister's house yesterday, and he admitted that he has met his uncle, Chaudhry Shujat, for the first time since the day of that Punjab Chief Minister's election. So there are developments, you always keep your doors open when you talk about politics, and the strategy or the stance that the PTI chief or their premier is taking, PMLQ, they also have this sense of insecurity, So at the end, there is a certain element of gaining more and more power, and they would like to be in power somehow,
You think that? Please stay with us, and then we will come back to you, Sultan Sahab. I have with me Dr. Niaz Murtaza. Niaz Sahab, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Niaz Sahab, we're talking about the overall scenario with in the Punjab. The political scenario. Of course, it's one of the major hot seats, so to speak. And considering the fact that PTI and the PMLQ are allies, and one can say a kind of unholy, because there has been some sort of, there are allusions of distrust now and then, I would say. How would you respond to the overall scenario there? Of course, we've also had statements come from the PDM that they would be willing to offer the PMLQ the same kind of deal. How do you see things proceeding there?
Well, I think, the tempo has certainly slowed down, after the November 26th announcement by PTI about, going immediately for dissolution of the two provincial assemblies. And more it now seems like, that announcement was made because of, the fall in tempo from the Long March. The Long March, it took 6 months of announcements for it to start, and then it took another 4 weeks just to get from Lahore to Islamabad.
But Niaz Sahab, even today, the former Prime Minister Imran Khan Sahab spoke, and there were a lot of statements that came out. He was talking about early elections, but then he was also talking, it seemed, to the establishment. How do you respond to that kind of, again, the exchange that had earlier on started and then it stopped, and a lot of statements that came out from the former Prime Minister?
Yeah, well, as far as, their attitude towards the establishment is concerned, there has been a visible change in that, earlier on, before, the last army chief stepped down, there were open accusations and recriminations, name taking and so on. So all that has changed now. I think they want to give some time to the new army chief, the new leadership.
But now he's making accusations of at the last one, it seems.
Yeah, at the last one, but not at the new one. So I think they still have some hope that, maybe, the new person will deliver for them, which I think is a bit unrealistic for them to expect that, it takes a while for a person to settle down in his position, find out what's going on. And, the kind of time frame that Imran Khan has, that something has to be decided in December, I don't think the new person will oblige them this quickly, if ever.
But what is this? But the stepping away from the dissolution of assemblies, is that you think that is because there is this inability to reach that kind of consensus with his allies, or particularly in Punjab? Of course, we've also seen in KPK, now where he is in majority, he doesn't need his allies. Statements come out saying that his own people, his own MPs don't agree with necessarily going down that road.
Yeah, well, the thing is, KP depends on Punjab completely. It wouldn't make sense to just dissolve KP if Punjab is not dissolving. So, what, the KP people were never very happy with the decisions, but now that, nothing is happening in Punjab, they're airing, their discontentment more loudly. Why go and dissolve just KP? It's not going to have much of an impact at the national level if Punjab is not going to get dissolved. So they are putting pressure that, first of all, decide about Punjab. If you can get Punjab to dissolve, then, we'll think about it. Otherwise, we would like to continue on.
But are they going to decide about Punjab, in your opinion? I mean, are they going to be waiting for their allies who are also fishing in other waters? How is it?
Yeah, I mean, that's one part of it. I think only one part of it. Maybe the biggest part that, PMLQ is quite lukewarm to the idea of, dissolving the assemblies, because they may never come back to power at the CM level again. But I think even within the PTI, there are two thoughts, whether, the PMLN has made it very clear that even if they dissolve both assemblies, they are not going to go for the national elections. So if they are not going to get national elections, then the fact is that they lose their both governments at the provincial level, which is providing them a lot of, logistical and administrative support. Because, there are chances that, Mr. Imran Khan might get arrested in some of the cases. And it's always, the KP police or the Punjab police that comes to his rescue, provides him protection. Governments are protecting them. So there is a double mind even within PTI. What will be the benefits? They could think that, if we hold elections in Punjab today, maybe we are very popular. And then, we have our governments at the provincial level, and even if they hold elections for National Assembly 10 months later, then there'll be a PTI provincial government in Punjab while the national elections are held. So that will give them some advantage. But then, there is a reverse fact that if provincial elections are held today in Punjab, there'll be a PMLN government at the national level. So that will give an edge to PMLN. And then, winning a few by-elections is very different from winning a general election, even at the provincial level. So the PTI is not sure that once it gives up the government, what kind of a performance would it be able to put up? So, there's a lot of questions swirling around, and, there's a little bit of confusion, and that's why you see PMLN suddenly becoming a bit relaxed. They are in no hurry to come up with a vote of no confidence or a vote of confidence or governor's rule. All that talk has gone away. I think their main focus now seems to be on trying to see if, they can get Pervez Elahi over, because that will be the easiest way of getting the Punjab government back. Everything else, vote of confidence, vote of no confidence, is going to be quite tricky. So I think that's what they are focusing on. And you mentioned...
Sahib, let me come back to you. Please stay with us. Sultan Sahib, can you hear me?
I can.
Sultan Sahib, what about, offering, is it true that, you were earlier talking about if that happens, as far as the Punjab government is concerned, if things go in your favor, in terms of swaying the allies to your side, what about, what are the options left for the PTI then? Are they going to come back to the assemblies? Do you think is that the only route open to them now? Or you think that the former Prime Minister will again insist on some kind of agitational style of politics, which has since failed?
I think they'll be facing this dilemma whether to come into the assemblies again or whether to go for the agitation. Because if you talk about agitation and protest, they haven't had a great deal of response recently. And if they opt to be a part of the provincial assembly once again, then their narrative of not being a part of assemblies, which is a bit contradictory at the same time, because they are a part of government in more than 2 or 3 assemblies in Pakistan, but still they don't want to be a part of National Assembly. So that would be a tricky situation for them. I can't exactly point out which option they'll be opting, but first of all, Maruf, we'll have to see that whether things go into that direction or not. I would still say that it's kind of 50-50 at the moment.
Sultan sir, what about, can you hear me?
I can.
What about this return, this now, as far as your conventions are concerned, the one that happened in Rawalpindi and again happened in Sialkot. Is this an indication of the PMLN now going into election mode, gearing, mobilizing their voter base? What is that part of the strategy now?
Yeah, earlier on, like 2 or 3 months back, there was a whole schedule regarding the conventions in Punjab especially. And it was decided that Tier 1 leadership, they'll be visiting different districts. And then sadly, that incident, the attempt on Imran Khan that took place, he got shot, and things aren't, these, the such leadership, they have reports from certain segments, so things aren't very ideal for such personnel to move around freely. So after that, the second schedule that has come up is that the local leaderships of districts and divisions, they'll be holding, these conventions, workers' conventions, and there's no guarantee that whether the top tier leadership will be able to be a part of that or not. If you talk about warming up in terms of elections, I think it has a little bit to do with that as well, to mobilize people and to gear up for, public, in terms of reaching the public.
Perhaps for Mia Nawaz Sharif Saab's return, is it true?
Well, if you talk about recent statement, there has been a statement that he might come earlier, as expected, but still,
sorry, could you repeat that? So I think there's a problem with audio. Ji.
Can you hear?
Ji, now I can hear you.
Well, first of all, it depends on, the things that are going on at the medical side, treatment and all that. And if the doctors allow so, I think it's not a bad time for Mia Saab to come back.
Okay, let me come back to you. Please stay with us. We have with us Mehtab Haider, who's a senior journalist. Ji, Mehtab Saab, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
Ji, Mehtab Saab, we're talking about the overall situation as far in Punjab, and as a journalist, of course, we've seen. First, it started with statements that his allies, as far as the PTI are concerned, are standing firm by him. They will stand by him. All of that, and then later, there were some statements that were also not quite so. One can say, they were less vehement, I would say. And now, with these other meetings happening, overall, what is the scenario in Punjab, in your opinion? You think that there may be a likelihood of change there, or you think that by and large things are going to remain the same? Because we've seen the former Prime Minister step back from the dissolution. There's a delay there. How do you look at things overall?
Thank you very much, ma'am. Actually, in Punjab, there is a political game is going on, and as you know, first of all, the PMLN and its allies formed the government, and then Supreme Court's decisions paved the way for a change, and now PMLQ is in power. And it's purely a political game, because if there is a change, how much any can expect that in the next election, PMLQ will be given 10 seats by their allies, and then they will form the government in Punjab. So I don't think that they will dissolve the provincial assembly. They will try to linger on the things, and for instance,
Whether they do
although
so under any
they
banner, you're
publicly
saying
say,
whether they do so under as allies of any party, they will want to cling on to the
yes,
power that
they
they have
want
at
to
this
stay
time.
in power. Yes. My point is they want to stay in power, whether they are with the PTI or they are with join the PMLN, because their ultimate objective is to stay in power. Few days back, they although they say that we will dissolve the assembly whenever Imran Khan will say we will do it in 1 minute. But in the same breath, they also say that it's not the suitable time. It will take 2 to 3 months. So, two types of indications they are giving, and
Do you think
ultimately
it's a
they want
case
to
of hedging
linger
their
on.
bets at this time, or just at this, of course, we've also had statements from the PDM saying that they can offer them, the PMLN primarily, that they can offer them the same deal that they at present enjoy, the same power that they enjoy at present in Punjab. Were that to happen,
Actually,
do you think?
actually, PMLQ is also divided within the party. One side of the group wants to join the PDM, and another group wants to remain with the PTI. So they are trying to strike some kind of agreement, which can also help them in the upcoming elections as well. So it's a very interesting game. Let's see what happens. Fingers
Okay, let me
crossed.
come back to you. Please stay with us. Now, sir, this seat adjustment that I think Mehtab Sahab is also talking about, is that also it's one of those give and take situations. Do you think that's also going to primarily be the focus of where the PMLQ lands up? Because of course they are in the hot seat as far as Punjab is concerned at this time, important for overall for the PMLN at this time, the PDM, and also for PTI. So their restoration, their sticking to where they are or moving will determine what happens.
Yeah, I think PMLQ has played its cards very shrewdly. I won't say it's very principled politics. It's very wheeling and dealing politics. But they're both in two boats at the same time. They are part of the federal government with plush ministries, and they of course have the CM-ship of Punjab with such small numbers. So they've played their cards very shrewdly, and I think they hold the
And
trump
perhaps
card.
we will remember how the 10 seats have become so relevant and so important the way that they have in Punjab.
Exactly, because the margins are so low. Both the main parties are about evenly split, so that's where their power comes in. But then you still see a lot of statements, especially from Monis Ali, that we would like to stick with PTI and we don't want to switch. But then it's quite possible that by the end of the day, all that might change. So there is some shifting of the ground that's taking place. How it pans out, I think it's still a bit too early to say, but definitely, there's a lot going on behind the scenes which may not be apparent, and that's a big part of why, they are delaying
Yeah,
things,
so
taking.
what about these allegations, these reports of funds being, disbursed in this manner, which is not exactly legal, the way that they're being given, the two districts that are being given undue importance, all of that. How do you view that?
Well, I mean, that's the unfortunate part that, once, you are in power, you do exactly what, you accuse your opponents of doing. So when, PMLN was in power, there was all this talk of, North Punjab getting the lion's share and other districts getting left out. And now, it's reversed, since Parvez Elahi is the chief minister, and, the districts that he represents, like Gujarat and so on, they are getting a lot of attention now. Whether there is any corruption, of course, that's all for the courts to see. But it's quite clear, why PMLQ is not in a hurry to dissolve, because there's a lot of development funds that are being spent right now. There's schemes going on, and if they go in for elections right now, they may not be completed, and that might affect their electability in elections. So a lot of calculations going on around, and that's why you don't see an immediate decision.
What do you think the former Prime Minister expected when he gave when he issued this statement of dissolution? When he said that it was his intention to go forward and go towards dissolution of assemblies in Punjab and the centre? Did he think that his allies would stand firm behind him? Did he think that it would act as it would make the government cave? What was behind it, in your opinion?
I think his main calculation was to, somehow deflect, focus from the fact that, the Long March had failed. And so, he had announced that, the Long March will reach Islamabad and then there'll be a dharna, a lockout, and they'll kick the government out. And obviously that did not happen. They just did not have the numbers to do that. So he had to create another distraction. And that was the obvious one, that we are dissolving the assembly, and it did send shock waves through the political chessboard in Pakistan. Even the PLN was on the back foot for a couple of days. But now, as time has passed on, it's becoming more and more clear that that wasn't a very well thought out idea. It was just to deflect attention from the failure of the Long March and to have something else for to keep the workers warmed up, the supporters warmed up, that it still has a few cards in his hand. But this is his last I think.
What happens now? You're talking about the fact that this is probably his last card that he had up his sleeve. What happens if there is if the PMLQ decides to go the other side? Even if they don't, what is the other option for the former Prime Minister Imran Khan at this time? Will he return to the assemblies? There seems to be a categorical no there. Again, statements like elections, early elections is where he wants to start. If he wants to sit on the table, that is the preemptive, that is the precondition to any of the talks that he says, purport to hold with the PDM. In that kind of an overall climate, what is left for the PTI?
Well, if PMLQ, bolts to the other side, that's going to be a devastating blow. And, that will be very hard for PTI to digest and explain it to its worker. And that will take, the momentum out of them. And, they'll be in a very tight corner then. But even if PMLQ continues on, there will still be, a big loss of face. Okay, so now December 20th has passed, and there are no elections announced, and you're still not dissolving. So what will be the next step then? Then, I think they need a big face saving for them to, return to the assembly. They would at least like that. And,
what kind of face saving do you think would suffice?
Well, that, if a PMLN announces that, okay, we are ready to, enter into a dialogue for early elections, something like that. Even if it's not the date of the election, something along those lines. But I think PMLN will be very stingy with that. It's in no position, no hurry to hold immediate elections. They're even talking about delaying it by another 6 months. So that's the kind of thing. And then, they will just, huff and puff a little bit. And then closer to the election, then, there'll be the issue that, they have to be part of the process if they want a neutral, administration, both in Punjab. Well, Punjab, they'll still get it, but at the center, for that, they will have to return to the assembly. So there might be just, 5 or 6 months of just...
Of course, the PDM would also like to retain control, get control back as far as Punjab is concerned, because it would be, of huge value to them in preparation of the next elections, in terms of the, the funds that have to be announced, in terms of their own groundwork for the next elections.
It's possible that something might shift, the chances are higher that, there's a change in Punjab, or there is a dissolution. This holding phase where nothing happens seems, the least likely option. I think the biggest chance is that, there's a change in Punjab, or there is a dissolution.
Let me go to Mehtab Saab. Mehtab Saab, can you hear me?
Yes.
Mehtab Saab, what kind of a street adjustment do you think the PMLQ wants for the next elections? Of course, they're not probably thinking about now, a year or so later, the next kind of scenario, what would work best for them?
Actually, they want to maximize their shares, because if they have 10 to 15 seats in existing assemblies, at least they want to retain it in the next elections. And that would be the major challenge for them.
Hmm.
because they want to ensure utilization of funds in the remaining period in the Provincial Assembly of Punjab, either with the PTI or with the PDM. And in the next elections, their major challenge would be to retain their seats in provincial assemblies as well as in the National Assembly. And it would be a major challenge for them.
Of course, in terms of overall the politicking also and the overall scenario at this time, this is the best in terms of the cards that have been dealt. They've landed up with the best ones.
Yes, of course, but the politics is basically a matter of choice, and it's they're always trying to maximize their share in power, and they want to retain it and they want to maximize it in the existing scenario and in the upcoming elections as well. But in the upcoming elections, how they will be able to manage the seat adjustments and what kind of seats they want, especially in the provincial assemblies, because they want to remain relevant in Punjab, as well as they will try to be as much relevant in the national assembly
And
as
also
well.
in terms of the overall, let me come back to you, Niazab, also, what they perceive as the likely scenario going to be in the next general elections, they would want to be with the party they perceive as the most popular. True?
Yeah. Well, I think they'll first of all start with their current share, so they'll want more ministries. I don't think Imran Khan gave them any further ministries beyond the CM share. So they'll want more ministries immediately. They'll want more development funds from PMN if they strike a deal with them. That's what I'm talking about. More development funds for their areas, and then some adjustment for the next elections, maybe 20, 25 seats, a good share of the ministries, plum ministry. So, they'll obviously demand that. Even though there's no certainty that they'll even win these 10 seats in the next elections, but because they are in such a good positions right now, they might be able to, strike a good deal. Again, it's not principled politics, it's fairly ugly looking, but
But
that's
are
how.
we seeing, I mean, as far as Punjab is concerned, there doesn't seem to be any principled politics,
No.
since we've had this allied kind of setup and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, even Imran Khan, he used to call him Punjab's biggest daku, and then he made him a chief minister. So on both sides, there isn't much principled politics, and I think it's worse with the PTI, the way they were brought into politics, and now with Municipal's statement on how they were nudged to go towards Imran Khan, even during the VONC, that raises a lot of suspicions about even some of the decisions like about 63A, the weird decision that even votes will not count, and then the election commission decision to quickly de-seat those 25 MPAs who had crossed shore. So it becomes more and more murky, and I hope these kind of things will end now with the resolve that the new leadership in Pindi is showing that they'll stay away with politics. I hope they stick to that.
Niazab, what about over as far as the likely scenario is concerned, the narrative of the PTI is concerned? We've again, like you said, the style of politics. Of course, they came. The pedestal again has always been much higher as far as the PTI is concerned, because they come and talk about corruption, they come and talk about honesty, they come and talk about governance. But we saw what happened in the last stint of power that the former Prime Minister had, and then also in terms of the narrative that's been given out, and then we see again, like you are saying, this play of politics in Punjab, which he's very much a part of. So in terms of puncturing holes in his own narratives, are you are you seeing that? Is it on display, you think, for his own followers, for his own voter base? Because again, it started with a conspiracy, it started with a narrative against corruption, it started with calling other parties names, and now he is not, if not more, at least as much a part of that whatever he called it, as any other political party, if
Well,
not more.
in some senses, there was a break from that corruption narrative for the last 8 months. The last 8 months was, the cipher conspiracy, the
Which
US
is ended
conspiracy,
also.
and then, a talk against the establishment. So those two angles seem to be, shutting down. It's not so easy to criticize the US because they're also trying to, mend fences with the US, with hiring that law firm and the frequent meetings with the ambassador here, with the establishment, with the change in leadership. Again, it's not very easy to keep targeting now. In fact, the president reportedly has sent them a message to not cross the red line, the new Pindi leadership. So now what have they left with? Then it's back to their old stories about corruption and performance, and that's
but they're also now facing their own, as far as we saw the former Prime Minister come and say today, he seemed to be making a statement out of pure, I don't know what one would call it, belligerence or what, that he's saying that, look, they were my watches and I can do whatever I want with them. Is this, I mean, the Tosha Khana is a real case, the foreign funding is a real case. As far as the PTI is concerned, these are, legal challenges for them, which they will have to face. And he is going to be, of course, he's at the very front of that.
Yeah, and that's why they had switched narrative to, the cipher and, establishment, because now they're not on a very strong ground when you talk about performance and corruption, because they have their own poor performance and corruption. So, if they have to, thrive on this corruption and performance for the next 10 months, then, all, the popularity that they have supposedly whipped up because of, the cipher and the establishment talk, all that is going to get lost, and then there'll be weak wicket of corruption and performance where PMLN can come back and say, look at your own performance.
If it hasn't already gotten lost. Thank you so much for being with us, Dr. Niaz Murtaza. Thank you for being with us. Sultan Shahryar Saab, thank you for joining us. Mehtab Haider Saab, thank you for your time. Ali Zaman Danish, thank you for being with us. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Thank you for joining us. Overall, as far as the situation is concerned at this time, of course, the former Prime Minister, his party faced numerous legal challenges. They also faced trying to retain control through their allies in Punjab. How successful they are, of course, we will know in the next couple of weeks. But there is clearly a battle afoot at the PTI's hands at this time. And what happens there will determine what happens overall as far as the scenario in Punjab is concerned and KP is concerned, whether statements issued on disillusion were made in the heat of the moment, or will they ever actually bear fruit. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.